couponing, wherever we go. I am okay with wherever your questions take us, always. So tonight's topic is cutting bills and reducing debt. And I know that last week I had said we would talk something different, and I just kind of changed my mind in the middle of the week and decided that I really wanted us to cover this one. Part of it for me is that I have been getting a lot of questions. People are hitting you're starting to see that we're at the end of the year, Christmas is coming, and I think we've got a lot of folks that are really just trying to make their budget work and hit some of the goals that you wanted to hit or whatever it might be. So I've been getting a number of emails about it and thought it would be a great topic for us to hit. With all that in mind, as you go into October, which is crazy that that's like a week away, for us to hit, where are we on our budget and how are bills looking and ways that you can cut some of those numbers. The other thing that brought this to mind was all of the new cell phones that were launched in the last couple of weeks and seeing all the new commercials for them and the new plans and switch here and switch there. So, kind of hitting all of that, as I think the point of those commercials is obviously to make you want a new phone and make you end up either in a contract or making that switch. And is it really worth it? Are the bills in the end really worth it? So that's where we want to go tonight. But again, I'm always okay with your questions, even if they're off topic. So if you have a question either way, on or off topic, just stick them in the comments and I will see them, or my husband will see them. And between the two of us, I will try to make sure that they get answered. Always fun to see where you guys are too. So I'm seeing North Carolina and Houston, Alabama. So I know we end up with a really fun widespread, but the fun part for bills, I guess, is that we all have them. So no matter where you live, this should apply for all of us. I want us to start with the big bills and move to smaller. And in my book, big bills are, heating, electricity, water, phone, cable internet, though there's not a ton that we can do in some of those areas, but hit those and then we can get into some smaller bills. So if you've got something super specific, you can definitely try to hit it, but my goal is to get through the big guys first, because the big guys are where we're spending a chunk of our money. So let's just go right out the boat with electricity. There's not a ton that you can do, beyond, turning everything off and going crazy nutso on never having a light on if you're not in the room. But there are some things that you can do to make your electricity bill never a stressor. So if you have not already, I urge you to call your electricity company and put yourself on budget billing. I don't think there's an electricity company out there that does not offer this feature. So budget billing, they basically look at what you used over the last 12 months. They add it all up and they divide by 12. So you're paying the average every single month, not your usage every single month. And guys, I know that it may not make sense, but why you're doing it this way is that on a big, horrible month when, which is usually the winter or the really, really heat of the summer, your bill is always the same amount. So that your budget isn't taking this, $350 bill that you just opened and you're in panic mode. You will know with budget billing that your bill is always going to be this amount. Now, if you get to be super awesome and you cut your electricity usage significantly, some of them will allow you to readjust your budget billing every 6 months. Some are going to make you wait until the next yearly cycle and they will readjust for the 12 months afterwards. A lot of them will end up coming to you and saying, you know what, you don't owe a December payment. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. And that's if you have a significant overpayment because you've not been using as much as you used in the past. So for example, let's say I might be slightly looking forward to this on one point, that you have 2 kids that move out at the same day, they go off to college. Well, now there's less people in your house. You're probably going to use less electricity, but you can't factor that in until really the next year when they see the difference. But budget billing is going to save you from that shocker. There are also some water bills that allow you to do this. So across the board, asking for that. And if you think about it, our other bills are always the same. Cable's not going to come jumping out at you with a higher and lower amount based on how much TV you watched. It's just the water and just the electricity bill. So those two, if we can switch to budget billing, that's at least going to save your budget. It's not saving you money, but it's going to save your budget, which is huge. So just to knock those out of the way, that's homework if you haven't already. But hopefully you will. So Cheryl's saying, I got a $330 bill today and screamed. I'd be with you, Cheryl, on that. So yeah, just trying to do away with the screaming because you'll never be surprised. You'll know what it's going to be. You will see, oh, we used more than maybe we used last year, which is going to mean that my budget billing next year is going to go up, but it's not going to affect today's payment, which is really sweet. Okay. So to move past that, though, to get a little further in on electricity, Matt's sharing that keeping the thermostat at 78 or 80 for AC and 64 for heat. And Matt, I would love to do that. For me, I like uncomfortable. I hit at 80. I can't live that high. But you can definitely make some adjustments to the AC. Going with a programmable thermostat is what a lot of folks will say. We have a friend who owns his own AC company, and he'll be the first to be like, oh, I don't think it's really worth it. But we have programmable thermostats, and I can't really imagine not wanting one to be able to turn it down. And when you're not home, we don't need to heat the house during the winter. If we're not home all day long, we don't need to cool as low as we might if we're home all day long. They are not expensive, guys. So I'm not saying go and get a Nest thermostat. There's some pretty basic budget programmable thermostats. They're like $20. But plugging one of those in, we don't own a Nest. We don't own anything fancy, but it works. And having that just set to save you some money across the board. And then using it when you travel too, definitely adjusting it the whole time you're gone versus continuing to cool at night or whatever the routine might be. Putting it on a hold or a different program for those times is going to save a lot. But Matt's right. So any adjustment that we can make to the AC, that's your biggest pull. I also, there are some pretty extreme things you can do electricity-wise. I know some folks that don't use their oven in the summer because it will heat their home. So they'll, period, not going to use that one. I can imagine I use my oven a lot. But it can also be that you don't use some appliances during the daylight hours. You use them in the evening. There are some other things, and this is not available in all areas. But one in particular that I wanted to mention is a company called Ohm Connect, I want to say. And they reached out to me a while ago to see if I would share them. And I never really did in a post, but I'm going to share it with you guys. It depends on where you live. So it is not available in all areas. And I'll stick this in the chat. It's mostly from what I remember, and it might have grown. It might be further out now. But from what I remember, it was mostly on the West Coast. So any West Coasters, this will help you. Where it didn't really help us that much. But Ohm Connect does have a way that you connect your electricity bill to it, and then you're basically giving them permission when they need power. They're going to run, it's almost like a blackout type thing where the power is going to roll and you've given them permission to reduce your power during that time. You can read more on it too if you live in the area. It seems intriguing. It's just not available in my area. So it was one where I didn't ever share it on Southern Savers, but it fits here. And it may, for you, depending on where you live, work in your area. And like just pulling up their website now, it says you could earn over $292 a year by going with their service. So, you can go that route. The other side of electricity, you've got a lot of folks that have gone solar. Out of curiosity, we looked into it this year because, anybody will come and give you a quote. And for some people, it may work out. But for us and the number of kids we have, when they said the final number, we're like, that's great. Y'all can just pack your bags and head on out the door. But they quoted us, it was like $70,000. And yes, there's a lot of tax incentives, but you have to be able to use those tax incentives, and we weren't. But it's there. It's an option. So I'll just mention it, but it isn't an option that everyone's going to be able to do. In terms of other things that you can do with electricity-wise, we can be as miserly as we want, but just keep in mind what uses the most It's your electricity. It's not actually your lights. There is a little gadget, my husband might stick it, get him to stick it in the comments, that we did plug in, and he's kind of an electrical engineer, but plugged it in, and it actually will show us how much power we're currently using, and then you plug in what your rate is, so you can know, like, this minute the house is costing this much money. It was kind of nifty to see and use, and it lives on our counter now. For the first little bit that we had it, I would run around and try to turn off all the lights and see how low we could get it. Lights didn't do anything. So I would just like to point that out to my dad, who, when I was little, would always just yell, "Jenny, come turn off your light." I hope someone else's dad did this to you guys, because it was so annoying. He was walking past my bedroom, but he wouldn't turn off the light. I had to get up and go do it. So there you go, Dad. It doesn't really save that much money. Okay, to move on, budget billing for electricity, budget billing for water. There's a few other things you can do for water, and those are the classic ones as well. Make sure you don't have any leaks. They sell little dye tablets that you can put in your toilet and see whether they're leaking. Guys, really simple one here. They're the same little tablets that come in Easter egg kits. So get a clearance Easter egg kit. I probably have 2 in the pantry, and drop one into the tank of the toilet. If the toilet water without flushing ends up being colorful in the bowl, then you have a leak in your toilet that's just dripping water into the bowl. You can't always hear that one, so that's why they say to use the dye. Also making sure that you don't have the same thing outside. Faucets aren't leaking. Any dripping faucet does end up costing money in the end. So reducing water usage across the board. Showers versus tubs. That can be another one that can be dicey for some folks, but it does, depending on how long your showers are, you could actually use less water in a shower than you can in a tub. Now, there are other people that would argue differently, but it just depends on what you're doing. So, or do you have water saver shower heads? Do you have, all of the features? There are even some water saver features that you can do in your toilets. If you have old toilets, you can kind of go digging and definitely, get a good mix on various things that you can do in your toilet. So another one, and yes, Matt's mentioning too, LED bulbs. They save on your electricity use. They also don't heat up the house in the winter. So switching to electricity bulbs that don't produce as much heat. The other perk of LEDs is that you don't have to change them as often versus the old school light bulb that's going to blow out as often as it does. And Vicky says she's over $381 right now on her electric budget billing, like plus in the pocket, $381 because your son's family moved out. Well, I know you have to be excited for that. And what I would do, Vicky, if that's the case, is go ahead and call them and see if the electricity company will let you already rebalance out your budget billing. Because if you've hit that much of a positive balance with them, they should. Okay. You guys are funny. So, do you have to start budget billing at the start of the year or anytime? Francis, that's a great question. Anytime you can call them and set up budget billing. It is not a January to January. They'll go ahead and they'll look at your last 12 months and they'll take an average of it, and that will be your next payment. So they will set it up at any point, and then you'll see on your statement that you have budget billing from X month to Y month, whatever you've set up. What about if you use more than last year? So if I use more than last year, so we were talking about a surplus, that's a great thing for you. But if my usage goes up, then Carrie, next year it will all be factored in and divided by 12, and I will then owe more in each of those monthly payments. Potentially, if your usage went like crazy sky high, they could come and reevaluate your 12-month payment. But I can't imagine that you're going to blow last year's numbers out of the water. Now, if you have not been living in that house for 12 months, there's the potential that you won't be eligible for being on budget billing. So they're going to want 12 months worth of data before they're going to make that assessment, or they're at least going to want to see some of the like summer highs or winter highs to have some kind of idea what your usage is. So if you bought a house last month and you want to set up for budget billing, it's going to be really hard for them to do that, and the number is definitely going to be off. One way or the other, it's going to be off and not work for you the way that you want. Okay, let's jump on to a couple others because I'm seeing a lot of folks asking on other types of things. I have a couple links that I'm going to have my husband put in too. 9 ways to save on heating costs, and there's a different, and then a general one that kind of covers a little bit of what I'll put them all in a bit, but just so you kind of get this in the end, just look for the links to try to kind of follow up and get more info on what we've been hitting on. To move on past electricity and water, those are, and kind of grazing over them, but in a way there's so many things that you could Google, and 14 people have given their tips on how to reduce your electricity costs, and we're all going to put up plastic in our windows in the winter, and I mean, you can go as all out as you want, and it will help. It definitely helps. One thing, I guess, before I move on that I did want to hit on, and this can be something that you might not even realize, but a big expense on electricity can be your appliances if you're in an older house. And so if you've got an old hot water heater, I mean like super old appliances, always go to your electricity provider, which for me, that just changed in South Carolina. So pulling up your electricity provider and looking for rebates, though humorously, I just pulled up our electricity provider to show you their website, and this is what I get. They're experiencing technical difficulties with their website. So let's see if Duke Energy is up right now. So if we want to go Duke Energy and pull up their website, hopefully they're not experiencing technical difficulties. But usually on the main website, you will be able to find, not only your account, but they will have information on any rebates that they're offering, or just type it in. I think Duke's going to realize really quick that I'm not in their area, but we can quickly find it. And the other thing that they offer too, we're going to be in North Carolina for a minute, and we're going to live in Charlotte, just so that their website will work. So we've got, here we go. This is what I wanted you to see. So home energy improvement and services. So a lot of energy companies offer rebates. They offer all sorts of things when you switch out appliances. Now, this is not going to make the appliance free, but if it's something that you maybe already needed or you'd been saving money for, do not miss these rebates that are going to come back to you. And they're all different. There are also some federal rebates depending on what you're doing, though those have a number of those have been phased out, but some are still around. I mentioned solar. Some of those are federal rebates, but you've got a lot of rebates. The other thing that you can do too is having them come in. So Duke is known for this, Duke Energy, by the way, but other energy folks do this too. So this is free, an energy house call, completely free. We make house calls. So they'll come in and they will evaluate your whole house. They will tell you, the highs and the lows, where you're spending the most money, things that you might be doing great. And then the other thing that most of them will do, and they even spell it out on their website right here. They give you free LED light bulbs, a free shower head. I remember when I was a kid, my mom had this done. They even gave us little, the word's gone, like insulation things to go behind your light socket plates. So that you were kind of like sealing up that little hole. It's helpful and it's free. So take advantage of those if they are offered in your area by your energy company. So I guess a huge shout out to Duke Energy, since Dominion's website is down. Dominion just took over in South Carolina, but I know some of you guys have had them for a while. But hopefully you can plug in and get some of these. I mean, it never hurts. Get in and see what they have to say. Maybe they're going to have something helpful. Maybe they aren't, but you've at least been there. You know what they're going to tell you. And Kimura says, does unplugging every single outlet in the home cut electricity costs? It can, and that's where I was telling you with the little box, and I should have grabbed it off the kitchen counter, but the little box and how we played, and I mean, we were switching everything off. It wasn't massive. It was maybe bringing it down 2 pennies an hour on the full cost. So for a whole day, it's going to come out to 50 cents potentially. And that's literally unplugging everything in the house, alarm clocks and everything. And honestly, for the cost of 50 cents a day, I might be okay with not having to reset every clock when I came home and plugged it all in. So it depends on where you are. But if you were really, really wanting to, you could go that route for sure. Okay, to move on now. I think we've fully covered electricity and water, but the cable and internet, that's where I want to go next, and then we're going to go phones. Cable and internet, the big one that I want folks to get, I cannot tell you how many questions and emails I get that people don't realize. If all you want is internet, you do not have to have a landline phone. Like, I want to make a bumper sticker that tells people that. You can get internet to your house without having a landline phone. Now, they are going to try their hardest to sell you a landline phone, but I would guess over 50% of houses no longer have a landline. There's nothing wrong with them. If you have one, that's great. We haven't had a landline phone in almost 15 years, maybe more. Even if we did, I couldn't even tell you what the number used to be. It's been so long since we've had one. You can get internet to your house without one. The way that they tend to push this on people is the bundle. They're like, yes, but you could get internet and a phone and this, and it's going to be so much cheaper. No, just give me the price for one, because it's not really cheaper if in the end you're paying more money. It's still costing you more out of pocket. Yes, you're getting more services, but they aren't services that you need. So you are still paying more than you need to be paying for the internet. So ditch the home phone. If you have a cell phone, ditch the home phone and just get the internet. The next one that folks ask when it comes to cable and internet, they're tricky bills to bring down if you only have one option. So hopefully in most areas this has changed. But even for us, when we first got married, we lived down near the coast in the very corner of South Carolina. One option, Hargray, was the only one that was going to provide us, this little tiny company, going to be able to provide you with internet. Well, you don't have much to say. If you don't like their price, you don't have any other person to kind of pit them against. That was also, pre 4G, pre your phone even did anything. Nowadays, if you hated the price, you could, in theory, use your phone as a hotspot. But now we've got multiple options, hopefully, with potentially a DSL through AT&T or cable internet through the cable company. If I at least have two, then I can potentially bring those costs down by really pitting them against each other. So this is the best way, and it's really something you should do every year. So I'm going to stick a link in on this one, but there are 4 bills, and I've posted this a number of times and kind of reposted it, but it's 4 bills that I think you should renegotiate every year, meaning that every year you get on the phone with them and you say, hey, what can we do about this cost overall? But your cable internet is one of them, whether that's 2 in your mind or whether that's 1. We don't have cable, so one of those isn't even an option in our house, but getting that internet cost down. So how you're going to do this, you're going to call one company and just get what their current rate is and say, thanks, I'm just calling. I'm trying to see what the best options are for us. I'm going to call some other companies. As soon as you say that, by the way, the rate will go lower, get their best rate, and go ahead and hang up. We aren't actually going to sign up here. Let's call the other company and say, hey, I just called so-and-so. I'd like to hear what your best rate is. Their first question is going to be, what did the other guy say? But they will lower their prices as they sit there and try to stay competitive with the other person. We've done this, now that you have internet, you've made that decision and you're ready to renegotiate that one. We've done it even where you call back and say, hey, we've had this for a while. We'd love to make sure that we're still getting the best rate on it. How can you help me? How can you keep me as a customer? You can anyone can switch. You can always throw those out. And sometimes it's not we can adjust the price. Sometimes the prices stay the same on those phone calls, but instead they've said, you know what, but we can double your speed for the same price. Okay, well, if you're not going to adjust my price this year, at least my phone call got me faster internet. But making that yearly phone call never hurts. It takes your time. It isn't going to make you pay more. I promise. You're not going to come out of the phone, as long as you're good at saying no, you're not going to come out of the phone call paying more. It's totally worth your time. to make the phone call, to try to pit those companies together and bring the cost down as much as you can. And Leanne is chiming in, seeing that one too. She says, I call DirecTV every year by putting a reminder in my phone and negotiated an additional savings of $500 per year or less. Yeah, so this is one, if you wanted to really look at it, if you're paying for Sirius XM, always calling them, your cable, actual cable or DirecTV, your phone line, your internet, and potentially your cell phone, and looking at that one, seeing if they've released a new plan. There are some warnings with cell phones because you may actually really like the plan that you're on, and as they make changes, it potentially could not be in your best interest to change. So you just have to consider what you could be losing on a cell phone plan to renegotiate that one every year. But it's definitely worth it and going that route. So hopefully for you, you can get there. Oh, and then Karen kind of throwing in Planet Fitness. You can even go that route too if you're part of a gym membership and making sure that you're getting the best deal there. She says Planet Fitness is currently offering 20% off their Black Card. Wendy, I like this one. Can you ever negotiate Netflix, Hulu, etc.? No. So all of the streaming companies that are out there, their prices are fixed. You're not even really going to be able to get anyone on a phone call. What you could potentially do is get maybe an extension on getting a free trial or trying the free trial again, but you're not going to be able to get a lower monthly price. That is their price, and they don't make changes to their price the way that we potentially could with cable, because what cable is going to do to change the price around is alter the channels that you're getting. But Netflix, Hulu, etc., their package is their package. So there is no way that they're going to alter the channels you're getting. If you want more channels with them, you pay for a different package, but you're not going to have a lot of other options. So for us, we do not have cable. And since you brought up Netflix and Hulu, it is one thing I wanted to mention. As we're talking bills and cutting bills, there is a point where I think all of us need to sit back and see how many of these streaming services we are subscribed to. Because as we've cut cable and we're glad to not have cable and we don't think about it anymore, some of these services, the price is so low that you don't even think about that anymore. And you really should. So if you're paying for Netflix and you're paying for even 2 others, you're potentially paying as much as you were when you had cable. So I would sit down and look at what you're monthly paying for with streaming services and which ones you're using the most. If you aren't, none of them are on a contract. Cancel them and maybe pick them up at a different time of the year. There could be times of the year that you tend to watch less TV. Fall, the kids are in a ton of sports, you're gone a lot. That's us lately. Do I still need Netflix and whatever else you have going? Don't forget Amazon Prime. If you're paying for Prime too, it is technically, shipping and all these other things, but it still has a cost. So factoring that in when you're looking at your streaming services and which ones are you using the most. Now that needs to be a group decision because you may have a favorite show that's in one and your husband has a favorite show that's in another. But just so, we're all on the same page. I did do, and this one I didn't pull up before we started, but I will find the link. I did a post recently on how to stream college football, but really in terms of comparing those services, if you've got a husband who really likes sports, then that's always been a struggle with cutting cable, because when you're cutting cable, you're losing all the ESPNs and all of this and all of that. And so I did a comparison of all of those in this post. I'm going to have my husband stick it in the comments here in just a second. And with those, and that's Diana's question too, how to cut cable but keep NHL and NFL. So I would encourage you to look at that and look at the different streaming services. We have in the past always streamed college football using Sling. This year we've switched and we're using YouTube TV. YouTube TV had a lot more channels than Sling did for basically the same price. And I want to say I'm not I'm not a huge NFL or NHL person, but I would encourage you in particular, Diana, to look at YouTube TV and all the channels that are there, because you might be surprised at what is. With NFL, it gets a little tricky because some of those can be blacked out in your area if they're wanting people to attend the game. So you might need to kind of see how many times those games tend to be blacked out or not. So on that note, Carrie's saying, what's cheaper, negotiating cable or streaming? And Carrie, honestly, this is going to come down to how much TV you watch. So cable, again, I haven't paid for cable in 15 plus years. But what I remember from cable, what I've seen from other folks, is that you're looking at like almost just a basic $50 for the general programming. If you want anything above that, if you're wanting HBO, Showtime, etc., you're going to pay for that. But basic programming is $50. Well, for some of these full out streaming services like YouTube TV, it is $50. It's the same price as cable. The differences are that it's no contract. So for us, we are streaming college football with YouTube TV, and when college football ends, we turn off YouTube TV. We won't have it the whole rest of the year. So we pay for it September, October, November, December. Maybe if one of our teams made it into the playoff, that's going to end up being on national TV. It's not going to be a big deal, but 4 months out of the year that we are going to pay for that with, that is our cable bill basically, but only 4 months. Instead of having cable in the house, I've got to pay for it all 12 months. Now the rest of the year, we have Amazon Prime, and there are actually a number of free channels that you can stream as well. So it just depends on what you use to stream with. We have a Roku, and a lot of places have Roku channels that are completely free. So I don't get the weather channel, but we get AccuWeather, I think is the name of it, or Weather Nation. And we can sit there during any hurricane, just like everybody else, and have the thing on the whole time if we wanted to and feel like normal people. But it's a completely free channel. And there's a number of them. NASA even has a free channel. We watch a lot of liftoffs, and the girls love it. So looking into that too, you could literally just stream free things if you wanted and not pay for any of the services. And Pluto TV is another one that my husband is mentioning. So Pluto TV does have some cable channels, not all, but some, and they are free as well. So that is another channel that we add to the Roku, or if you had a smart TV that you would add to your smart TV. Now, one other thing that I want to mention in terms of saving on streaming, and I try to mention these when I do videos in the stores, but if we see CVS, Walgreens, any of those stores running gift card promotions, even Kroger right now, who is running 4 times the fuel points on gift cards, guys, they sell Netflix and Hulu gift cards. Get them. You're getting a 10%, 20% savings. If CVS is offering a $10 CVS Extra Care Buck when you buy a $50 gift card, that's 20% savings. Get a Netflix gift card if they're offering it that week. Get the 20% savings, and then you plug in that gift card into your Netflix account or your Hulu account. So it's not going to bill you for the next 4 months. It's going to take it off of the gift card for the next 4 months. And you, in the end, got a deal on it. You got $10 to turn around and use on other things in the house. Now, you still had to pay $50 for the gift card. You're not able to use rewards to pay for them in the drugstores, and in Kroger, you're still going to have to pay the $50 gift card, but you're getting something back for it. So in Kroger, if you went that route, which they are through Saturday, the 28th, if you have a Kroger nearby, you load a digital coupon and you'll get 4 times the fuel points. Meaning, if I bought a $50 gift card, I am going to end up with 20 cents off a gallon of gas up to 35 gallons. If you used all 35 gallons, that's a savings of $7 on a $50 gift card. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 14%. You just saved 14%. So never miss gift card deals that are out there for streaming services, because every single one of them, there are gift card deals for them. Even Spotify and all the others that are there, you can get a gift card deal. So go that route if you're looking for ways to save for sure. Okay, so, and I see somebody, Angela is giving some examples on mortgage, and mortgage is a great one. In terms of trying to cut the overall payment, you have a few options. Refinance is usually where people will turn to first. Don't do that. If your rate is great and you're looking at getting a lower rate, that's not going to help you. But you also want to look at how long you plan on staying in the house. So what's the payoff on the refinance? Because there's a cost to refinance your house. There is still a lawyer involved. There's still fees involved. But looking at that, if the overall cost ends up being better, then go for it. Do not take out equity when you do that. You're just like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So the point here is to lower your debt, not increase your debt. So that's the one thing with refinances that most people are tempted to do, and they want you to do it. Don't do that. But you can definitely go that route. You can also look at potentially escrowing your own amounts if that is an option with your mortgage. So we do not have anything escrowed. We put it into accounts ourselves because you earn interest on that. Rather than it being in an escrow account all year, not earning interest for you, but earning interest for the bank, it's going to earn interest for you. And, we have it in an online money market account. So you could go that route too. And then paying, I would always recommend paying a little bit extra on your mortgage because you're going to pay it off a lot faster. Now, that's not helping cut the bill. It's actually making the bill a little bit more, or paying your mortgage twice a month, not the full amount, but cutting your mortgage in half, paying it every 2 weeks. You'll end up making one extra payment a year by doing that, paying it bi-weekly, and that one extra payment a year on a 30-year mortgage, it'll cut the mortgage for most of us by almost 4 to 5 years. That's pretty sweet. And all you did was just pay the same amount, but just twice a month. Now you need to look at how your mortgage payments are applied. For some mortgages, it is written in that they do not accept early payments because that's the concept. So you're still paying that same amount. You're just paying it at 2 weeks and then again at 4 weeks. You're really paying less interest on that 2-week note because you paid it 2 weeks early. It just depends on how they apply it. The other reason that in the end you've paid extra is that when we divide the year by 2 weeks, there's really 2 extra payments that you're going to make versus paying once a month. You're going to end up making 13 total payments over the whole year when you divide your payments in half and pay them every 2 weeks. But it does, in the end, cut a lot of years off of your mortgage. And for most of us, not everybody, but a good chunk of us get paid every 2 weeks. So this way it's just always coming out and you always have that number. It's not going to be a shocker, but it's a really easy way to pay down your mortgage quickly. Okay, so April's saying we just switched to all streaming and I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I was wrong. It's wonderful. Yeah, you're right, April. You're not going to miss anything when you switch to streaming. If anything, there are nights where there's just too much to watch and you can't even, I don't know. But it's kind of fun too to just have nights where you just watch the same thing every night. You can just get caught up on a show. So you could go that route. Oh, and Shayla, I'm sorry I missed your clarification. Oh, that might have been my husband answering you too. So let's see, to jump back and make sure that I didn't catch this out, everybody's questions. Jessica also said our cable went up recently because our promo pricing ran out and we called AT&T and they helped us to reduce it by $75 a month. So yes, that's kind of even a reminder, Jessica, for you to go ahead and put that date in your calendar for next year for when it runs out again so that you can definitely have the best price when it's all, when that one runs out. You're not going to get caught by it on a bill month coming in. And Kathy, thank you. So I had someone ask me this earlier. I was sharing the Kroger gas card savings with a family that we go to church with because they were wanting to get Disney gift cards. And so I said, go to Kroger. But they didn't have cars that could handle 35 gallons. So if you have cars that can take maybe 15 gallons a piece, then take both of them at the same time to Kroger, fill one up. That person pulls forward and you fill up the next one. Don't put the gas thingy, what are we going to call that? Nozzle back. Don't end the transaction, but just wait for a second and pull the second car up and fill the second car up. Fully maximize your 35 gallons on that savings. This is money. Get both cars filled up at the same time. Every time you use your fuel points, it's going to be a big savings for you. Let's see. And Deb says, I have an antenna in the window to pick up local channels. And we do too. So we have an antenna. We actually stuck it up in our attic. And that's how we're going to get all of our local channels. And you'll be surprised if you haven't tuned into local TV, you're going to pick up all the HD channels too. So we don't just have one PBS, we have 4 PBSs, as they're all 0.1, 0.2, and there's a lot more programming there than there used to be, back in our day. You should definitely go that route if you need to. Okay, so to move on, I'm trying to catch up. You guys have a lot of great tips tonight. And it's hard for me to read them all and to move on. So I just will. So we've hit electricity, water, cable and internet, and streaming a little bit there, and gift cards for streaming. So let's talk cell phones. It's kind of the stepchild, I think. It's the bill that, in all honesty, does not need to be the amount that we are all paying, but we have become quite addicted to having our cell phones and to what our cell phones provide for us. So just to put that one out there, if you are in a point where your budget is not lining up, you need to focus on what feeds you, clothes you, and keeps you warm. Beyond those 3 major things, internet, TV, phone, these are not necessities. In our world, we decide that they're necessities, but they aren't. You can actually still get a flip phone. You can totally go with the track phone and all of the prepaid services. You cannot get cheaper than the prepaid services. So if you really want to save money on your internet, it is going prepaid, not only because the prices are the cheapest, but guys, we even see deals there. We see Kroger run 10% off and Target run 10% off on these prepaid lines. That's as cheap as you're going to get. Now, again, we get a little attached to the services that we have through our phone, and we're not willing to give them up. So in this moment, if those bills are hurting, that was your choice. Now, that's just my little soapbox for the moment. Now, if we want to save on those bills, there are some ways. Obviously, switching is a huge one. Everybody is trying to always win over the other guy's customer. So all of the incentives are usually for switching or for new lines. The free phone commercials that we're seeing right now, or the buy one, get one phone commercials that are out. Anytime a new phone launches, we always see big promotions, but those big promotions are generally if you switch or you add a new line. So for those of us who don't need to do either of those things, there is no free phone and there is no major promotion that's running. You can still call and renegotiate the bill. So you can call and say, what do I have that maybe you're running a promotion on that I don't know about, but I need to bring down this cost. The same way that you would do with the cable bill, the phone bill can do that too. But in the end, it's you that's going to have to make those decisions. How much data do you need? Now, most everybody has moved to these unlimited plans. Even the prepaid phones have moved to unlimited plans. But you want to look into those and go that route as much as you can. Natalie is joking, but you still want to use Ibotta. You've got to have a smartphone. I agree, you're still going to need a smartphone. But even then, the prepaid plans they even have smartphones as well. So as you look into the wireless plans that are out there, we've even seen Google now has phone plans, which blows my mind. But you can literally look into all sorts of different ones. And I just realized I saw a promotion running for almost 3 free months, and I cannot for the life of me remember what that little plan was. But some of the ones to look up, Cricket, the plan in Walmart, no one's allowed to say it, but the Walmart prepaid plan runs on Verizon towers, guys. And it's like hush hush, but it does. So looking into that, if service is an issue with one provider versus another, the price is still pretty amazing. So looking into that, you can save a chunk by going those routes on the prepaid plans. And a lot of them will even let you port your number to them as well. So you're not going to lose the phone number that you have. And, nobody really knows because they save it in your phone. I can't even tell you my mother's phone number. I'm sorry, Mom. It's in my phone. But they're there somewhere. So let's see. And I see someone mentioning if you're not a huge cell phone data user, Xfinity and have home internet, then using Verizon at a discount, they pay $24 to $36 a month for 4 phone lines, and that's not using any data. So thanks, Matt. For us, we live out in the middle of the boonies, so you're actually watching this through the data on my husband's phone. That is the only way that we can stream live, is using his data, because our home internet is so bad for streaming. Now, I can work on it, I can write blog posts on it, but I can't stream on it. And so for us, that has meant that he is on a crazy old plan. I'm not even going to go further because I don't want them to hunt us down and change it, of truly unlimited data that doesn't get downgraded. It's pretty amazing. But it means that we have to pay for it. We can't call and renegotiate that, or we lose this. We lose the ability to do what we need to do. So there are always moments when it's not going to work. Now, mine, I can renegotiate. I don't use my data very much in that setting. We can totally switch users or switch providers. We can do whatever we need to do to keep that cost as low as possible, and you should. So don't always have to have it exactly the way that you're used to. Changing it up is going to save a lot of money. So Florida, Christine saying Florida Metro is only $35 a month for unlimited. And Linda's chiming in and saying she loves Straight Talk. That's Walmart's plan. Thank you, Linda. I couldn't remember their name. And Karen is too. So a lot of them, no contract. Yeah, that's the sweet part of these prepaid plans, that you're going to be really happy with them in the end. And Straight Talk being on Verizon towers, like, what are you paying for Verizon for at this point when their plan is so much cheaper? So, just to go that route if you want to. So Diana is saying, what about health insurance? Any ideas on how to lower that? Okay, so this one can be a tricky one. The general ways to lower health insurance, Diana, and we're almost there. You've got another month and a half until everything opens up again. But the first thing that you can always adjust, it's like your car insurance too. They've almost built them to be the exact same type of product. Your deductible is the first thing to touch. Going with a high deductible health insurance plan potentially is going to save you 2 different ways, in terms of tax savings and in terms of overall monthly premium payments. So a high deductible plan means whatever that deductible is that you picked, ours is pretty high. This has been a year that we are thankful for emergency funds, but we have hit it. We've maxed that out with me being in the hospital twice, having my appendix out. So a high deductible plan, ours, just to tell you, is $6,500 a person. Max out of pocket for the whole family is $13,000. That's a ton of money. Hopefully we don't hit that number, but we have maxed out me. So now I've hit a point where I'm like, what else could I get done this year? So high deductible plan, we're going to owe money up until that $6,500 point. Now, the insurance is still going to give you a discount on things. So everything gets filed to the insurance. They decide what they would normally pay, which is great, and then I owe that. So I'm not going to have to turn around and pay the full amount, because turns out to have your appendix out, according to the hospital, is like 20 grand. But the health insurance company said, no, it isn't. And you end up paying like $2,500 of that. So high deductible plan, the monthly premium on that is significantly lower compared to a copay plan. But there's another savings beyond the monthly premium, and that is that you can create a health savings account. So a health savings account, you can look these up. They're at all your local banks. There are also some online. But a health savings account allows you to put whatever your deductible amount was into a savings account You can do that monthly. You can do it all at one time if you have a big, tax return and you want to put last year's tax return into the health savings account, however you want to do it. But the money that you put into that health savings account goes in pre-tax. I don't owe any money on that money in terms of taxes. So here we've needed that money. We actually already had it in a health savings account from a previous year. If I don't use it with a health savings account, I do not have to use it. It is not a flexible spending account. That's where if you don't use it at the end of the year, you lose it. A health savings account just sits there. It's a savings account. If you didn't use it this year, great, you have it for a future year. So I think it was 2 years ago, we funded our health savings account. We didn't use it. We didn't use it last year, and we have used it all this year. And we'll try to refund it and get the money back in there. But you can do that. So having the high deductible with a health savings account, you're missing the mark if you do a high deductible plan and you never open the health savings account. You've missed half your savings using that tax benefit. Whether you need the money or not, because it will be there for future years, you should do that. And you need to fund it by December 31st. So if you've had a high deductible plan all year long and you never opened one, open one and fund it. The money that you put in by December 31st, it's going to count on this year's taxes. You can fund it again for next year. So you can kind of keep adding to that money if you want. It can be well over what your yearly deductible is. You can only put in the amount for this year's deductible this year, though, just to kind of get that one across. So hopefully that'll help a little bit in terms of insurance. Jen is saying her insurance offers incentives like a weight loss program and smoking cessations. So there's definitely, if you're getting insurance through your employer, there can definitely be other ways that your employer might be able to lower those costs. For large businesses, small businesses, they got nothing. I can tell you that because we had 2 employees a while ago and we just had to cancel insurance. Sorry guys, we can't afford this. So one other option that I've mentioned in the past for health insurance is actually to do away with traditional health insurance and to look into some of the health sharing programs that are out there. We've done this for a number of years in the past as well, but MediShare or Samaritan's Ministries, there's a number of them, so just look up health sharing or MediShare and you'll see them. The monthly premium is much lower. So for our family of 7, we're talking a monthly cost of $500. I couldn't get a health insurance premium, an actual health insurance plan for $500 a month for 7 people. You couldn't. Your deductible would have to be like 40 grand, and they don't even make them that high. So it is significantly cheaper. It sets some alarms off for folks because it is not insurance. They're very quick to tell you that, but we have never had a problem with it. We've never known anyone that had a problem with it either. So I still wholeheartedly would recommend it for anyone that it fit. The one thing that it does not fit for most folks, though, is that they are grandfathered in to all of the healthcare changes, and they do not cover pre-existing conditions for 3 years. So if you have pre-existing conditions, they aren't going to work for you. But for other folks, they will work great. If you are healthy and you've had no issues, it's a really good way to save on your health insurance. And Deb, thank you for mentioning that too. So she said at Conway, South Carolina, the hospital will negotiate for payment plan interest-free, and you can pay in full to be cheaper. So yes, that's a huge one. I actually got humorous. I was in the doctor's office about to be admitted to the hospital for a second time, and I got a phone call saying, if you could pay this today for the appendix, then we'll take $1,000 off of your total amount. Guys, that was like cutting it 33% off. Now, I didn't have that in cash that second. It was in the health savings account, but I can put it on a credit card and then I can take the money out of the health savings account. I got some points to put on the credit card too. Don't worry, we paid it off. But if you're going to offer me 33% off to make a full payment right now, I am there. We are done. We still have to make one more payment to the surgeon. That was a separate bill, and my husband already put it on his to-do list. Can we call and see if they'll give us a break on this one too? Yes. So any of these large bills, if you've got a big chunk coming due, they just want the money. They don't want to hound you. And many, many times they will give you a discount. And then a lot of folks don't realize, but Almost every hospital out there will put you on an interest-free payment plan. They cannot require that you pay a certain amount. They cannot require that you pay a certain amount. You only have to show that you are making an effort to pay the bill. This is from a nurse, guys, from a previous case manager nurse. And I have a sweet friend who had a child who I'm pretty sure is now 11. And when he was born, the insurance denied his whole birth, which is crazy. The bill for that was over $17,000, even after it was reduced. They make a $17 a month payment to the local hospital. And she's like, you know what? I will pay it off probably like the day they put me in the grave. But you're making a monthly payment and you are showing an effort to pay it off. So you can get those payments as low as you can handle and not necessarily what they try to give you either. So yes, thank you, Deb, for mentioning that to kind of remind me to not miss that for folks. Can you have an HSA account and use an employer's policy? Yes, Jennifer. Anybody, well, it depends on what your policy is. If you have a high deductible policy, meaning you don't pay a copay, that's really the biggest test for what a high deductible policy is. If you have a high deductible policy, usually your deductible is over $2,000, sometimes can be a little less, but normally it's pretty high. You are eligible for an HSA. You do not have to do that part through your employer. You just go to a bank and you set one up. So I've shared in the past who we use. We use a company called Health Equity and healthequity.com. And I'll stick this in the comments. I don't get anything for mentioning this, guys, I promise. But healthequity.com, it's humorous. As I pull it up, it is now nationally endorsed by Dave Ramsey. I used it first, Dave. So Health Equity lets you invest your HSA money in the stock market. So you have put that deductible, so for us that was $6,500, you've put it in that account, but it's not just earning like 1% at the bank. That's the difference. If you want to go with an online account, so I can show you what this one looks like. This is just their website. So our money is here. There are others that do this too, so they aren't the only one that let you invest online, but it's pretty sweet to be able to put your money into a larger earning account than earning, 0.5% of interest or whatever the bank is currently offering. So if you do decide to go into an HSA account, I would encourage you to look into one that can be invested in a larger interest-bearing account or even the stock market. So you'll save a significant amount. Let's see. And Karen, how did it cover our recent surgery? So Karen, to be fully open on our finances, we are not currently on Medishare. We have enough kids, the perks, I guess, of having always a crazy and fun household, that we actually are on a marketplace plan that's pretty affordable with 7 people in the household and not making a massive amount of money. So when we realized that it was, 6 of one, half dozen of another, we switched to traditional insurance off of Medishare with 7 kids. So it just depends on how big your family is, though, whether that's even going to be an option. And I know for a lot of folks it's not. And I know for a lot of folks the idea of adding 3 more kids just to save on health insurance, you're like, not going to do it. So we didn't have the kids for health insurance. We had them years and years ago, but it did save us some. Okay. So we've hit a lot tonight, and I see some of you guys are still talking streaming and whatnot too. Hopefully we've hit a number of things. If you've got other questions that we didn't hit though, feel free to ask them and I will try to jump back and get there too. But we've hit all of the major bills. I guess one other in the insurance realm, we've talked health insurance for a while, but car insurance, what is your deductible set at? Make sure you're at least getting the state standards, and you can also call and totally price that out across multiple carriers. Keep in mind, when you're working with the major companies, their services are all pretty much the same. Now, they're going to tell you that their services are all different. And if you go and you look up reviews, keep in mind that only people who are upset tend to leave reviews. So all of the insurance companies look like they're all horrible. And maybe they are in a small way. They're insurance companies. But you should totally price out your car insurance, your home insurance every single year. This is on my bills to renegotiate that I put in the link, but this one's not even renegotiating in a sense. This one's literally just making the switch if you need to make the switch. You do not need to stick with the plan that you currently have. You should be adjusting it. Now, a number of these plans also offer some perks. So one thing with car insurance, I even took a picture of our recent one, is see if your plan, I know State Farm is doing this, Allstate is doing this, there's probably some others that do too, that have an app. And you put the app on your phone, it's very kind of, we're tracking you. Basically, they are. They're not seeing where you're going, but they are seeing whether you're speeding and whether you brake quickly. That's what our Allstate one does. If you don't have any alerts, if you drive well, you get a check back. So our most recent one, it's only on my husband's phone. He's having a hard time figuring out how to put it on my phone too. But our most recent check from that, for the app being on his phone and him being an amazing driver, it was like $37. It's not a ton, but if your monthly car insurance payment is $80, that's a pretty good chunk. So consider those apps, making sure that you're using them or that you have them applied to your account and can use them. It's a chunk back, and it doesn't really affect your battery life. They're tracking you, but they're giving you money back to do it. So it's up to you on where you want to go there. But it's definitely a way to save. Diana, though, I couldn't do that. My car insurance would go up. Yes, you're probably right. It's probably a good thing even in our house that it's only on his phone and not on ours. And Jen is pointing out that you looked at several different plans for 3 teenage boys. So I will confess, I have 2 14-year-olds, so I am about to experience that next year. Thankfully, right now, it is just my husband and I on our plan and not having to insure teenagers. But you definitely want to go and start to shop around once we start adding in the very expensive drivers. Also, get with an insurance agent who is smart and willing to make some adjustments. So I remember this one, my husband is the oldest and has a number of younger siblings. And so when they all started driving, we were already married for a couple of them, and that was switching up who was the primary driver on certain cars, because a teenager is cheaper on a big, huge tank than they are on a different type of car. So make sure your insurance agent is working with you on that with teenage drivers specifically. And there are other ways that you can go there. You can raise your deductible. Some of those can be scary, so don't get too high, but hopefully that will help too on the car insurance side. Okay, and what if you have multiple cars? So the car, Wendy, is really, it's not tracking like how much you're driving. It's not tracking your mileage. It's just tracking how you drive. So the bigger one might be what happens if my husband hops in the car and I'm driving. You can actually, in the app, you can tell it that you are not the driver so that it will know that it doesn't apply to that drive. And that will help too, but you can, it doesn't care what car you're in versus it's, just that you're the driver and it's tracking your driving. And then Jen, yes, I remember this one too when I was a teenager. It's all coming back. Good grades, so turning in your report card and taking driver's ed. She said a texting course. All of those will help to lower your car insurance with kids. Yes, so thank you for chiming that in for folks. Then Deb is saying make sure you have good uninsured motor coverage. A lot of people get insurance just for the plates, just so they can legally get a car insurance plate and then they drop it. Yes, very true, Deb. Thanks for chiming in on that one. So Lola says, what advice can I give someone that's on Medicare on insurance? So if you're talking your Part B plan and all of the other sides of that, Lola, you want to shop around there too. There's a number of different providers. There's even with the MediShare program, a Medicare part of that and a sharing program for all the different sides of that inside MediShare. So you don't have to be specifically in the traditional insurance market either. I know at that point you probably might have some pre-existing conditions, but just to throw it out there as an option, but you can still price that out. You can also price out how much is being covered in those extra plans that you're adding on and reducing some things that you don't think you'll need to try to cut those costs a little bit. But other than that, there's not a ton that you can do since Medicare is kind of covering the bulk of your health insurance. Okay, we've hit a ton tonight, I may have even missed something. Those are our big bills. We don't have a lot of extra in our world. Hopefully we've hit some for you and we've covered a number. I also put in some links, so if you join late, make sure you kind of scroll through and find those links, and I'll try to pin them at the top of the video too. But thanks for sticking with me tonight. I hope that we covered something that was helpful for you. I hope you all go out and get home energy audits by your electric providers and everything else that we can do to start saving some money as the Christmas season rolls in here in a little bit. Because it's already rolled into Walmart, by the way, if you haven't hit it. It's totally there. So next week, I know I told you babies last week, and I don't think we're even going to go babies next week. I realized that we had just done that one a few months ago and kind of wanted to push it off. So what did I put in for next week? What to buy in the fall. So we're going to talk all the big things to be watching for as we hit all of these seasons and what's coming in. We're about to go into Q4, as the retail world calls it. So what to look for and the top deals to expect, when to buy things, should you wait for Black Friday, should you not wait for Black Friday, all those questions. I get them a lot. So that's what we're going to cover next week, a lot of retail and hopefully a lot of things that will help you save on the big ticket items that you have coming up. So thanks for watching tonight. Make sure to share this with anyone. We're always here Monday nights, 8:30, same time. And again, I will pop back in with other deals that we find throughout the week. So you guys have a great week.